So it looks like we're all ready to go. Should be. Seems like we're on the air. We're going to start the broadcast. Here we go. Season here in the Midwest F1 League, and we are tonight at the Baku City Street Circuit in Azerbaijan, which should be a very fun, very chaotic Grand Prix, as it always is. Hotspot on the call with you, and once again, we're in a situation, we've got ourselves a championship battle that's going to come down to the wire. We have 10 points between the top two, 16 between the top three. Mitch Burns at 266, Mack in the Alpine at 256, and Travis Scott's at 250 in his AlphaTauri. So tonight, what do we have? 18 drivers on the grid. Should be a very fun one yet to come here. And we also got some battles to avoid relegation as well. Apologies, I've been quite ill this past week. But here we are in Azerbaijan. We had Portimao last week. Oh my God, it is pouring rain! What in the hell? Of course, real-life F1 has only ever seen one rain Grand Prix weekend here in Azerbaijan. It was the first one, its debut race back in 2016. That race was apparently really exciting from what I've heard, but here we are in the full wets, no less. This is absolutely ridiculous. This track, very difficult in the dry, never mind the wet. And here we are in the most adverse of conditions. I mean, good Lord, this is ridiculous now, isn't it? Full wets are going to be on display here. That much we do know. No formation lap coming up tonight. We know that. We haven't done formation lap in a couple weeks. I believe there is still some sort of glitch with it. Not really sure how that plays out, but what we do know is this. Pouring down, pissing down rain here. Cats and dogs, insert your metaphor here. Here in Baku, it is absolutely pouring out. We still have yet to see a car on track. 18 of them up tonight. The likes of Reimer, who took the championship in the Jag Sunday Series, which I've been commentating. He did very well. We also got a Mercedes driver who does not have a name. Unhappy-looking face there in the other Mercedes. I don't know what his actual name is, but our first two drivers on the track tonight, it's going to be the fire-up flow in the Aston Martin, and I believe it's going to be the Haas of Brian Mosser. Brian Mosser, let's go ahead and look at our... sorry, have I been pinged here? I have not been pinged just yet. Ray is asking in the chat. Brian Mosser, currently out on track. Brian Mosser, if you remember last season, did lead the championship for the first half of the season, and unfortunately, he finds himself at the moment in P11 in the standings. He's going to be safe from relegation, but this has not been the season that he's been hoping for. He's yet to win a round, and I'm thinking for his sake, this is going to be a season to forget for him, and hopefully next time round he can just put this behind him and put together another good championship effort. So, our championship standings looks like this. As we said, Mitch Burns in the Alfa Romeo leads the standings at 266 points. Behind him, the Alpine of Mack finds himself at 256. Travis Scott's in the AlphaTauri on track. He currently is P3 at 250. And Boumace in the McLaren at P4 at 235. Ray in the other Haas at 2... Oh, we've just had Slayer Eyes go off. Yes, we have. Goodness me. Well, he's gone off there. That is at turn 3. Can we go back along with Hightower here as we go in towards the corner? He has done something completely not good there. His debris is in the circuit. Oh, and there goes Hightower again. The track is just so damp out there. Again, being that this is a street circuit, you're not going to have much grip as it is when you get down on the throttle, and we've seen 2 cars already have incidents just on their outlaps here. But we do have Ray on the other Haas. Currently makes up P5 at 234. Slayer Eyes P6, Ayahuasca in the Williams at P7, Noganator P8. He's actually tied with Frenchie for that 8th spot. And then P10, who is still participating, is that of Brian Mosser. We do have Mackie, who making up 4 points more than Brian Mosser for the time being. But for all intents and purposes, Brian Mosser will be P10. And what he will be as well is the first driver out on a timed lap today. Let's see what he's got here as he makes his way down in towards the first corner. By goodness me, you can just see, I mean... This is ridiculous here. We're going to have a real upset here, perhaps on pole. Makes his way into turn 2. Now you can see just how heavy he's on the brake. You don't want to lock up. You don't want to go too far into the corner. It's just not going to help you. Out of turn 2, typically DRS would be activated here. No DRS to be had as he makes his way down towards turn 3. 14 minutes remaining in the session here. He's taken it pretty okay. He's gone a little bit to the outside. Not enough to complain about, actually. Looking like a halfway decent lap so far from that of Brian Mosser. As he makes his way out of turn 4, does he hold on to it? Only just. Good effort from him. That got scary. Through turn 5 now. And you can see, it is just absolute ice skates out there for the Haas of Brian Mosser and for the rest of the guys as well. Give me 2 seconds while I bring up the rest of the track map. That was turn 6 into the very tight right-hander of turn 7. That braking zone, you go deep, usually in the dry. Never mind the wet into the Charles Leclerc corner. It looks as if, oh, Mac has done it right there. Yep, Mac has done it at the Charles Leclerc beginning of the castle section. He's gone straight into the barriers. And we have already lost 2 participants in this qualifying session as Brian Mosser, as he goes to get the car back down, and it looks as if he's done just that, in towards turn 16. Coming up here, the beginning of sector 3. And then back on the throttle he goes, coming up towards the very fast left and rights of turn 18 and 19. It's flat in the dry. It is not flat in the wet, and Brian Mosser is out of the session. And you can see, oh, and goodness me, the Aston Martin behind him has hit him. And unfortunately for Fire Up Flow, there just wasn't much place to go, because Brian Mosser, his car was stranded across the circuit, and the Aston Martin of Fire Up Flow, unfortunately for him, had nowhere to go. And we have now lost 3 drivers in the session here. 12 minutes to go. We still have yet to have a driver put together a timed attempt here. It looks as if the Mercedes of, well, he's not going to do it. What do we call this guy? Upside down face? Frowny face? I don't know. Well, Reimer's going to be coming through the tail end of his lap here. Let's see if he's going to be able to at least put down a somewhat respectable time here. 12 minutes to go. 2 minutes, 1 second for Reimer. Full wet tires on display. Next up to the line here, looks as if it's going to be perhaps the Williams of Ayahuasca about to start one. Behind him, it's going to be the AlphaTauri of Knuckles, who's making his way through turn 18 and 19 now. Knew it hit that curb. I tell you what, them curbs are slippery no matter what. And I tell you what, that's not an easy corner to get right no matter the conditions. I do not blame you. But I tell you what may end up helping here is it's going to be the good old-fashioned Monaco syndrome. You want to be right up at the front or right at the back. And I don't know what the weather is going to be for this race session, but Baku does tend to give us some drama no matter what, so that may end up helping, even if you do start at the tail end of the grid. A lot of racing to go. Don't you get discouraged just yet. Knuckles has gone P3. He finds himself a second and a half behind Noganator in the Red Bull. Has gone dry race, Brian Mosser. Thank you very much. 7/100th of a second behind Reimer for the time being. And if you remember last week in Portimao, the beginning of the qualifying session was dry only for the first couple of minutes. We got probably 5 drivers with a competent timed lap attempt, and then the rain started falling. Well, it's the full wets here, and this is an interesting situation because what we have here is a battle knowing that these drivers, knowing that the race is going to be a dry session, do they put their rather low downforce setups on, knowing that the conditions are not in their favor? Struggle it out now, but perhaps have the advantage come race time, or do you go for the good grid spot and hope you're able to hold on? Well, at the moment, it looks as if Reimer has the best of both worlds, and at the moment, he is a quarter of a second faster through that second sector. Coming through turn 20 now, and down the front straight he goes. Current provisional pole sitter with 10 minutes to go in the session. He may best his time once again here. It's going to be close to the line. Goes Reimer. 2 minutes almost flat. 2 minutes, 2 1,000ths of a second for Reimer. That puts an additional second for Noganator on Baku at this moment in time. Currently about a second and a bit slower. Goodness me, what a beginning to this session. And again, so many championship implications are at play. As far as Reimer is concerned, I think he has joined late enough to where relegation may not be the case for him. There is a cutoff at which if you join the league and you get into a division, you will not be relegated because you've only just showed up. And I think Reimer might meet that quality. He's only been on the grid for a couple of weeks now. So Reimer may be slightly safe from that. But I tell you what I do know is this. He's a right quick driver. Surely going to make... good voice crack. Goodness me. Surely is going to make some waves next season if he does stay on the grid. And I would absolutely expect him to be a force to be reckoned with. You have Travis Scott making his way out of turn 20 now. Tell you what, not a bad looking lap here from Travis Scott as he gets to the line and then through. He hasn't put down a time yet. He's going to go 2 minutes 1:06, 0.4 of a second behind the Noganator. Currently, only 4 drivers have put together timed attempts. We just had the Mercedes of Happy, yeah, we might just call him Happy, making his way through the first corner. It looks as if we've had the McLaren of DV DeBest go P4. Happy makes his way through the second corner. This race accidentally sponsored by Twisted Tea. Oh, yeah. Oh, that stuff's good. Making his way in towards turn 3 now. I tell you what, he looks pretty confident under braking for the time being. 8 minutes to go here in the session. He's taking the apex at turn 4 a little bit wider. Reimer, a 159. 260, so that tells me one of two things. Either this track is evolving or Reimer is evolving with it, and I think it might just be the second one because Reimer so far took provisional pole. The initial gap was by about 7/100ths over the car behind. It went to about 1.2. It's now, well, it's nothing now as Final Flame 157. 554. That is ridiculous. And I think we did just have that of Knuckles. He's lost it coming out of turn 18. Oh, there goes Hightower. Well, I think he's got some wing damage. That's an outlap for him as well. So over halfway through the session now, only 6 drivers have been able to put together a timed attempt. Unbelievable here. So Final Flame, we were just about to talk about how Reimer was slightly untouchable to this point. Final Flame has blown his time out of the water. 7 minutes to go here. Final Flame leads by a second, almost 2 seconds. Next up to the line looks to be the Aston Martin to fire up Flo. Let's see what he's got to deliver here. Looks to be on a pretty halfway decent lap. Going to be P4 for the Aston Martin, 2:01.5. So at the moment, Williams atop, Mercedes second. A pair of AlphaTauris. Oh, and it looks like Happy's just gone second. 158 flat for the Mercedes. So the pair of Mercedes drivers at the moment looking pretty good. Speaking of Mercedes, let's see if perhaps we can get a quick glimpse at the constructor standings. We were going to do this before, and the rain happened, and we thought that was more pressing at the time. McLaren atop the table, 518. The Ferrari's 484. And I tell you what, if you're living under a rock and you don't know what's just happened to Ferrari today and coming in 2025, let me tell you right now, you might need to go check your phone and your Twitter and your Instagrams because, by goodness, absolute bombshell was delivered today. Alpine in third at 435. Alfa Romeo not all that far behind at 431. Haas near far back behind them at 429. Red Bull 405. AlphaTauri 364. Williams 349. Mercedes 346. And Aston Martin 302. So for the time being, the pair of Mercedes drivers, P2, P3. Not bad at all. So I believe that was the Williams of Ayahuasca who's just gone P4. 2 Mercedes and a Williams sandwich at the moment. Ayahuasca goes 4th. Coming up next, I believe it might be Fire Up Flo. He does appear to be at least 3.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. 5 minutes to go here in the session. Let's see what Fire Up Flo has to deliver as he makes his way out of turns 18 and 19 and down towards turn 20. Well, across the line goes Fire Up Flo. He does leapfrog Knuckles, improves by 7.5 tenths, 2 minutes flat. For the Aston Martin, about 4.5 minutes to go here. Next up, I believe, is going to be the AlphaTauri of Travis Scott, who doesn't look as if he's on a timed lap unless... No, it doesn't appear that he is. Okay, so next up behind them, the pair of the Alfa Romeos are on outlaps here. It looks as if Altonian in the Alpine, making his way down the hill at turn 16. To the timing line he goes. He is currently slower by 3.5 tenths. Altonian, Division 2 veteran here. At the moment, I do believe he might be battling relegation, which is a very unusual place for him to be. This is a guy who's been through it all here in Division 2, and it has to be said, always just been on the cusp of promotion, hasn't quite found the right ingredients to get himself up there into Division 1. 204, He's at least got a time on the board. But Adaltonian, a lot of work to do here. 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining here. Despite being purple sector 2, I believe that said was slower by about 3/100ths. I'm not quite sure how that plays out, but, either way. Through turn 20 now. I say turn 20. It's not much of a turn, really. It is just slightly a kink. It's very similar to that of going out of turn 1 and up the hill to turn 3 in Austria. Not really a turn, but it is labeled as one. Fire flow does not improve. He's slower by 8.5 and he's not got a lot of time to get his car back around and a new set of tires on. I think maybe what we're going to see here is these couple of drivers that are still in the pits, are they just going to put on enough fuel to go around a couple of times here? 2.5 minutes to go. I don't think it's really going to depend on tires all that much. We do have Happy making his way through turn 16 now. He is right slower, this Mercedes, so far. TV to best. Oh, big tank slapper coming out of the first corner there. Down towards turn 2, you could just see 50 miles an hour going through the corner. That is streetcar amounts of slow there. That's how treacherous this racing surface is for the time being. Next up, I do believe, might be the Alpine of Adaltonian. And it looks like he's going to be starting another timed one here. Yes, he is. Minute 45 now. Also yet to come here is that of Hightower making his way. Oh, that was a... And I think Anbu Mason's done it. Yes, that is... sorry, where is that? That is going... I don't really know where he's gone off. It must have been in the pits because at the moment... That's DB the Best ahead of him on track. Hightower here making his way. Oh, he's hit the outside wall there. Well, he hasn't invalidated yet, but he may want to get this car just a time set. He'd be at least out qualifying 5 drivers if he does. Hightower is not going to decide to come in. Just get across the line, Hightower. You'd improve 5 positions. I don't know why he hasn't done that. No time for Hightower here. A minute to go. Speaking of a minute to go, we do have Final Flame on an out lap here, making his way through Sector 2. Ayahuasca has retired, that being in the pit lane, I believe. Coming up next, the Aston Martin of Fire Up Flow is slower through Sector 2 by a second. But I believe this is going to be the time lap to come here. Fire Flow does not improve, but he's on a new one now. Next up is the McLaren of DB DeBest making his way through 18 and 19. 2.5 seconds quicker through Sector 2 at the moment, with I believe less than a minute to go here. DB DeBest coming to the line here on low fuel, most likely his final attempt. Looking pretty good. P. Gonzalez has retired, that being, Ray, that being in the pit lane. DB DeBest has gone P3, 2.5 seconds quicker. Next up is the Williams of Final Flame starting his. The AlphaTauri next up, that being Travis Scott. This will be his final attempt making his way into the first corner. Oh, big tank slapper there on the way in. Does he stay within the lines? Yes, he does, but only just. Adaltonian making his way through Sector 3 now. Time has expired. Adaltonian, who I don't believe looks like he's going to be holding on to this timed attempt. He has not switched on the energy store until about now. I believe this will probably be the end of it for Adaltonian as he comes to the line now. Does he improve? He does, but by only 5/100ths of a second. Not going to be enough for him. We do have Reimer coming out of turn 16 now. I believe is currently slower by 0.2 of a second as he makes his way through turns 18 and 19. Is able to get through the combination of corners well enough. Does it stay that way? Does he get to the line and put himself back on pole where he spent the majority of the first half of the session? Let's see, what does he do? He's not going to beat a 157, but does he leapfrog? He does improve by 2.5 does not improve. He will stay fourth. DB DeBest, it doesn't look as if, well, maybe he's on a time lap still. Oh, and Fire Flow has lost it coming out of 16. And that's going to be the end of his session. His front wing is gone. DB DeBest here still. Oh, and he's slower. Well, that says he was slower by about 0.8 there as he comes through in towards turn 16. Yes, he is slower by over a second, so we'd have to believe that DB DeBest, his session is over. final flame behind is currently quicker by 0.8 of a second as he makes his way through 18, 19 here, and eventually 20 after that. Through turn 20, he goes down the pit straight now. Coming to the line, the Williams driver. Provisional pole already. Does he improve again? 1:56, 7:57 improves by 0.8 of a second. Does Travis Scott have anything to beat that? Oh, I believe he might improve. It's not going to be enough. No, he actually slower by 1/1000th of a second. Mitch Burns has ran out of fuel at the last possible minute. He looked like he could have been on pace to at least get himself in the top 5. Instead, he settles for 8th place, which he had already kept. So, what is this? 10 drivers maybe able to put together timed attempts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 drivers out of the 18 able to put down timed attempts. It's Final Flame on pole, Happy in second, DB the Best third, Reimer fourth, Ayahuasca fifth, Fire Up Flow sixth, Knuckles seventh, 8th is Mitch Burns, 9th is Noganator, 10th Travis Scott, and 11th, rounding out the timed attempts, is that of Adeltonia. Now, Hightower strangely had the ability to finish out a timed attempt. He may have lost the front wing, but he was still able to at least get something on the board, and he did decide to come into the pit, so a slight interesting decision from him. Well, I hate to say it, but this qualifying session is going to be nothing when we get to the race. It's going to be full dry. 2 rounds to go after today. What a way to start off this 13th Grand Prix of the season. Now that we have it a minute here, how's everybody doing? Been a long week so far for me, that part's for sure. And just a reminder here, that formation lap is off here in Division 2. It's not happened for a couple of weeks now still. I do not know what the glitch is regarding the formation lap. But what we do know is this: it has hampered Division 2 here quite severely, so it has remained off for a good chunk of the season here. The Baku City Street Circuit, home to some very exciting Formula One Grand Prix. With this being the third to last round of the season, so many championship implications in play, both on the relegation and promotion side of the equation, for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. So much at stake here. What an unbelievable qualifying session that was. So many variables to be had. And once again, still a lot of racing left to come here. I do not believe that these results in the qualifying session are going to matter that much. So just waiting out the drivers here in the grid now, getting their strategy set. Once again, formation lap is off. So as soon as we see those cars on the grid, it's going to be go time. Been a pleasure joining you, at least live, for these past couple of weeks. I haven't been able to do that, probably ever. And I've been able to live stream these past couple of rounds. I do not really know why it's been working as well as it has. But what I do know is this: I'm going to continue to do it until I can't no more. It's been a wonderful season to commentate. A season that's had so many ups and downs in several divisions I've casted. New tracks like Las Vegas and a couple of old friends as well, such as Portimao. And, of course, my 100th Grand Prix coming at the Monaco round. It's been one hell of a ride. And we have 3, 4, and 5 lights on here in Division 2. 2 more rounds to go after tonight, and we're underway. Final Flame does get away well, but Happy down to the inside. Is he able to get around the Williams? No, but for the time being, it looks as if they're going to file themselves through the first couple of corners quite all right. Fire Flow may have lost a spot there with a yellow flag. It's Brian Mosser off at the back. As a matter of fact, it's both the Haas's who have relegated themselves down to P17 and P18. Travis Scott and Adel Tonian side by side here. It looks like the AlphaTauri is going to, at least for the time being, get around the Alpine. Happy wants a move on Final Flame here for the top spot. It's not going to happen quite yet as they make their way now through turns 3 and in towards turn 4. For the time being, the Mercedes in second place trails behind Final Flame. They're on equal tires. Who isn't? Is that of DB DeBest, as we have a McLaren off at the back of the pack. It's Anbu Mason, and I believe he may have lost some front wing as well. He's off in the runoff area, exiting turn 3. Back to the action here. We do have DB DeBest on the soft tires. The majority of everybody else, except for that of Ayahuasca, Mack, and Anbu Mason, have chosen the hards. But for the time being, 26 laps of racing here. Oh, Knuckles has gone round, I believe. Yes, he's done that at the Charles Leclerc entry to the castle section. For the time being, it's just a virtual safety car. That front wing is gone on that AlphaTauri. Thankfully enough, he's able to continue driving the car. The front wing may be gone, but I tell you what, that could have been a lot worse. Lap 12 to 16 is that projected stop from medium to hard, according to the game. So Final Flame looks as if he will lead the opening lap of the Grand Prix here. Happy in second. DB DeBest third. And Knuckles is retired out on the track. This is at turn 15. Brian Mosser almost got caught up in that, but as you can see, Knuckles is off at the barrier. And I'm afraid that car, despite being on a virtual safety car, that lack of downforce was never going to help him. And unfortunately, it has done just that. And Knuckles is our first DNF of the day. The top 6 have stayed the same. Everybody else, barring that of Mitch Burns, and for the time being was, I believe, Mack, have moved up or down a position. So Final Flame leads the grid here. Slightly lengthened virtual safety car. For the time being, though, the pair of Mercedes drivers have stayed on the front 2 rows here. Sorry. Green flag back in the air. The Mercedes of Happy trying to find his way to Final Flame. We do have Reimer and Ayahuasca not all that far behind. DRS will be activated next time by. We'll have to wait and see if anybody can make moves now. Of course, it's all going to be fairly straightforward, trying to keep it clean until DRS gets turned on in a lap's time. Once it does, you'll start to see some aggressive maneuvers here, more or less. Oh, and Adel Tonian is retired. That's on the way in towards the castle section, and the safety car is out once more. Oh, and that's going up the hill as well, yeah. You know, Knuckles DNF'd at the bottom of the hill. There was still some room to at least get through the circuit. He has done that going up the hill through the castle section. And unfortunately, that will always be a safety car to be called. And it is certainly one here. Adel Tonian makes up our second DNF of the day. I do believe it is still too early to stop here for these guys on the medium tires for the hards. Maybe DB DeBest can find his way onto the hards now. That would be my guess if that DB DeBest comes in. Everybody else should be staying out here. Let's see what happens. No, DB DeBest will stay out as well, so this should be a relatively quick safety car to be had. Brian Mosser got a flat. Oh, yes, he does. A flat right front, yeah. And I'm thinking maybe did he run over the debris that was going up the hill through the castle section from Adel Tonian's DNF there. That's exactly what it's been. I believe, is that the Aston Martin? Does Slayer Eyes have something there as well, or is that just the spark pad? It was hard to tell. Brian Mosser's right front is definitely down, although credit to Brian Mosser, he couldn't have picked up that puncture at a better time. He's under the safety car here. The grid is neutralized. I wouldn't want to say no harm, no foul, but that's about as best case scenario as you could have had getting a puncture here. Funny, you don't often see punctures happening much anymore. It used to be slightly more common in 22 and 21 that you'd get one from running over debris. Doesn't see it all too often anymore, but I would like to see in this next game punctures happening more from, wheel-on-wheel contact. That will happen in real life, and I think simulation damage, that should be part of it. Wheel-on-wheel, that will almost certainly result in a puncture. But Brian Mosser picks one up here. Thankfully, no wing changes needed. It's just going to be another set of medium tires for the Haas here, and he's back on track. The grid is currently making their way through turn 14 now. I believe it will stay out another lap, which will help Brian Mosser. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to be coming up to the timing line here. Several drivers actually did pit, which was pretty surprising to me. In fact, everybody outside the top 9 has, which I did not expect. So it looks as if the safety car will be staying out another lap here. I'm going to at least stop the hard recording. I'll stay along with you guys on the live stream. And what I do here, this is just so much easier for me to be able to... You see, because the problem is that you have to stop the recording every once in a while. The flash drives do not let you export clips larger than 4 gigabytes at once. I've probably mentioned this before, but with the old PS4s, a whole race, was maybe 5 or 6 gigabits. Nowadays, we're looking at upwards of 12. And that is a lot of storage when you think of it like that. And the flash drives don't really support clips larger than 4 gigabits at a time, so you have to break it up into roughly 20-minute segments. So what I do is I will stop the hard recording during these safety car periods, just to, number one, save myself some editing, but to save some storage as well. So if you ever wonder why I leave the broadcast during these safety cars, that's usually the case. Not that I don't like being here, it's just easier for me in the long run. So I kind of elaborated on this earlier, but Lewis Hamilton apparently is going to be joining Ferrari in 2025, which, if you ask me, it's a little weird, because as much as I do like it, it does remind me of Michael Schumacher going from Ferrari to Mercedes. You know what I mean? It's kind of that last hurrah for Michael Schumacher. That kind of is what it feels like for Lewis Hamilton. Of course, naturally, Lewis Hamilton left McLaren and went to Mercedes, and Mercedes got the next generation of cars absolutely correct, and the history is there. What I do know is this, is that Ferrari has been behind the curve so much, up until about now, that it feels slightly hard to believe that Lewis has done this, in the hopes of, in the know, being able to know that he's going to win another championship. That's what kind of boggles my mind. I'm not really sure what the case is for that, but what I do know is this, for the time being at least, it looks as if the safety car will stay out one more lap as the pair of Haas drivers are making their way through the castle section now. I have seen the safety car come in after this kind of kink of 18 and 19 before. Could that be the case here? No, it doesn't quite look like it will. And this is another thing I do hope that the next game kind of gets right. In real life, you'll have the message pretty much by the time they're done with Sector 1 that the safety car will be in at the end of the lap. In this game, it does depend on if the drivers have caught up to the safety car or not, so that's why it'll wait until that third sector. But in real life, you'll see the drivers have that final lap there to decide, and only when they do get to the third sector that the safety car will speed up and away, but you will at least know that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. So just a couple of, and I tell you what, people crapped on this game a lot. I do think there are a couple things that did get right. A lot of things they got wrong. I think for the realism's sake, there's a couple better things that they could do. One of them being a better camera switcher. Like Project Cars 2 is a good example where you could pick whatever camera angle you want. Whereas this one, you pick a driver and you have either the onboard camera like this, or you have whatever the trackside cam gives you. You don't oftentimes get a lot of good camera angles like that. That's why sometimes you'll see me look side by side. Brian got a fastest lap under safety car. Is that right? No way, look at that. 149, 295. That's really odd. I mean, the safety car came out on the second lap, right? Oh, no, so we had the virtual on the first lap, and then, yeah, the safety car on the second. So, yeah, that's exactly what he's done. He's gotten the fastest lap under safety car. Huh. That's an interesting one. That's not going to last long at all, but it's a pretty neat little tidbit there. So as they make their way through Sector 3, Final Flame leads the grid here, still on the medium tires in which he started on. Happy second. DB the Best, who started the race on softs. Now, this is interesting for him here because naturally, DB the Best has kind of played this game hoping for the early safety car. In fact, that safety car will be in at the end of this lap. Not at all. It is hilarious. That part is absolutely true. It's very similar to Nikita Mazepin getting his. But what I do know is this. DB the Best, what he's done here, he's kind of hoped for that early safety car and hoping to stretch these soft tires a little bit longer and put him on perhaps a better strategy at the back end. Does this play into his plans? These soft tires do not last very long at all, especially at this track with high degradation. So, do we see DB the Best at an advantage, or do we see him at a critical disadvantage? What we do know is this. We're going to see Final Flame get back underway here very shortly, as he's really doing his best to back up the field here. This is at that point, almost the entirety of the grid is past that turn 20, and I think only now has he decided to get back up to speed. Coming down the pit straight, he's got Happy in second, trying to find a way around him. Oh, did Happy overtake him before the line? That got really close indeed, and I think Happy, whether he did that on purpose or not, has given the spot back to Final Flame, as we do have Fire Up Flow off at the back, and I think there's a huge conundrum. Going through the first corner, Fire Up Flow is off. We may have had a couple of drivers there find some sort of problem. DB the Best has lost a spot to Reimer as well. Slight contact coming out of the wall there. There goes Mac down to the inside. Happy has overtaken Final Flame round the outside in towards turn 3. Does he hold it? No, but that was a really good attempt there from the Mercedes. Oh, goodness me, a lot of action happening early here. DB the Best, who we thought could have been at an advantage, well, he's lost a spot to Reimer. Either he's not had a good getaway or those tires are done. It's going to be a good question on whether or not, as they make their way now through turn 7 and up towards the castle section for just another time here. We've already seen that corner claim 2 drivers in the early goings here. Happy in the Mercedes, trying his best, trying to stay within the slipstream of Final Flame. Mac had a good go there at Travis Scott not long ago. He wasn't able to make that much of an overtake happen, but he's at least still in position. Happy now looking to the outside on Final Flame as they head down the hill towards turn 16. He's not going to be close enough now, but for the time being, this has allowed a 1.5 second gap back to Reimer. There goes Happy looking for the left side through 18 and 19. A ballsy place to make it happen nonetheless. We have Hightower off at the back, 186 miles an hour at turn 20, and Happy gets around the right side, and it looks as if for the time being he may have the spot, but Final Flame is even Stevens with him on pace, 198 to 198. Final Flame, does he look to the inside? No, not quite, but DRS being activated probably next time by after this. That may help the Williams here, but for the time being, this is going to be the first opportunity we see the true pace of that Mercedes currently occupying the top spot. In the meantime, this has allowed the teammate of Reimer back kind of within the position here. He's now back within 1.5 seconds. He was outside of that marker just that last lap. What we do have is Mitch Burns on the way into the pit lane here, and the rest of the grid snaking their way through the first sector and in towards the second. Exiting turn 6, down towards turn 7 they go. Final Flame within 0.6 seconds here, trying his best to close in. He's not necessarily close enough just yet. He's not going to make anything happen in this section of the track, that part's for sure. I tell you what, he does look slightly comfortable here is the Williams. I tell you what, Happy got really close to the outside wall there. See the dust making the way off the wall. That's a neat little feature. I've never noticed that before. 0.5 seconds and closing here on the way into turn 15. They've handled it well. No DRS quite yet. We'll put the telemetry back up now just so we can see the top speeds as they get back down towards turn 1. I think the fastest we've seen so far is in the 202 range. It's 7, almost 0.8 seconds. Exiting now turn 20. As Final Flame trails Happy by 0.7 seconds. Reimer trails the two by over 2.5 seconds. So Happy on the way into the first corner, 202 miles an hour on the way in. Final Flame was only relatively about 195, as he has lost about a half a second here. And now with DRS being activated, that is not going to help the Williams here. Davey DeBest still on those soft tires, and he's doing relatively good enough here. He's actually stayed caught up enough to Ayahuasca to perhaps have a go at this position here rather shortly. Let's see if he does as he makes his way, looking for the corner. Oh, it looks as if the Haas of Ray Ray's gone off exiting turn 1. Sorry, just want to check in on that really quick. He was off for what it looks is to the inside of the circuit, so maybe, and he's lost the front wing as well as he tried to go too much over the inside apex. That very much could have been the case, because that end plate on the left front side is gone. Happy now a second and a half ahead of Final Flame as they make their way through turn 16. Ayahuasca about a second ahead of Divvy DeBest here. Sorry, he's actually behind that to Reimer. Divvy DeBest has actually lost quite a bit of time. He's now under pressure from Mac, and this is where those soft tires have degraded. That's not the right word. Yeah, it could have been. Could be. To the right side of Davey DeBest now is that of Mac, and I think we are going to see that McLaren pit this time by. Does he think about it? Does he do it? Yes, he does. And I hate to say it, but at least in this couple of years of F1 games, starting on the soft tires is almost never going to be the right decision. It has to be said. The drivers nowadays, they don't use... they're almost not even worth bringing to the circuit, really. You know, the drivers don't use them enough to, know their full capabilities. They don't hardly use them in the race anymore, ever. And so we see them, some of them go these 8-lap stints on them. But here he is now, he's relegated himself back to P13 when he could have started on the mediums and been on the same page with all these guys. He, at the very least, would have stayed within the top 5. He's taking a huge gamble here. But, as the old saying goes, no risk, no reward. I'm just wondering if he's taking a risk knowing that no reward may be in sight. Tires, that was probably what I was going to predict there, just knowing that he went from soft to hard there. Giggity. Ayahuasca within 0.7 of a second here on Reimer. Now Reimer, despite knowing that he's got some good pace, does look as if he could be struggling with that car. At the moment he's now 4.5 seconds behind Final Flame. Now we do know the pace of Final Flame is massive. We didn't really know much about Happy today, at least I didn't. Reimer, I knew at least that he had some pretty halfway decent pace. But what we're seeing now is he's either not comfortable with that car, or those two ahead of him are just well ahead of him. And I don't really know what the case is. Let's actually go, I want to go along with him right here, just if, so we're able to see the deal here. Makes his way into turn 1. I mean, he looked pretty smooth getting on the throttle there. In fact, at this point, he's actually gained about 0.7 of a second to Final Flame. Exiting turn 2, he looks just fine to me. Travis Scott's on the way into the pits, by the way. I think the first driver on the mediums so far today to do that, unless is he replacing a wing. Yes, he is. Well, that would explain it. Ayahuasca. Oh, and that may have been the mistake there. We saw Reimer get a little squirrely coming out of turn 3. Ayahuasca now in position. He's 0.2 of a second behind. Mac is in position for this as well. Currently the closest battle on track for these 3 drivers for that 3rd spot. On the 10th lap of the Grand Prix of 26, we are getting closer to halfway. Mac doing his best, just peeking the inside. Although that braking zone into turn 7, that's really not one you want to play around with there. I'll tell you what, that is quite possibly one of the harder corners in this game, is that turn 7. It's a flat braking zone. You got to brake much earlier than you actually think on used tires as well. It's not good. Not to mention it's a tight right-handed corner. You want to take as much as to the apex as you can, but do that too much and you exceed track limits and you get penalized. It is a ridiculously tough corner to navigate. Well, the three-car battle here for this third spot. We do have Mac within half a second here on Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca within half a second on that of Reimer. Reimer's in a tough spot here. Now, he saved up a lot of battery, and he's going to be at least a couple of tenths here of Ayahuasca when they get to the DRS section. But as we look behind now, are the two getting closer? Only just. Matter of fact, it looks as if Mac was closer to overtaking Ayahuasca. Oh, and there it goes. Ayahuasca's botched turn one, it looks. Mac's down to the inside, and I think the Alpine has got DRS activated. Does he try to look down to the inside? Slayerized and P. Gonzalez, they're battling it out in through turn two. We're actually going to go along with this one now. They were side by side there for a second. That looked a good battle. Unfortunately, we couldn't join it quick enough. And it looks like in that going, Mac actually has overtaken Ayahuasca, and then there goes Slayerized and Gonzalez, that being in turn three. Now turn, Hightower's DNF, that's on the pit straight, that's a safety car. What has happened with Hightower? This is on the pit straight, this is past pit entry. Oh, he's done it straight into the barriers going into the pit lane. What in the hell, that is such an odd place to have an off. But what we do know is this, the safety car is on track once more. And Happy's 4-second lead to Final Flame, I'm afraid it's all for naught. And that, well, has to be said. It's going to create a little bit of breathing room here for Reimer, who desperately needed it. He had two really quick drivers right behind him, and he had quite the gap to the top two. Gap enough to really, be in such a large DRS hole that there was no getting out of it, really. But let's see what the top two decide to do here. We'll take a look at the tire selections. Remember, we had about 9 cars stay out on that last safety car, which stretched from lap 2 to about lap 5. So, yeah, I would say the drivers in the mediums are definitely going to be coming in here. Remember, mediums around lap 11 to 13 was going to be that recommended window. So, a couple of laps extra on the hards is not going to hurt that much. Hard tires going on for Happy. I'm assuming for Final Flame as well. Reimer on the way in. I tell you what, this gap here between these two have actually done a double stack really well here. You don't oftentimes see the double stack work, but Reimer's not been held up at all. That was very good. Very well done there. I think he will end up losing the position to... no, he won't even lose it to Ayahuasca. Oh, but this is interesting. Ayahuasca from hard to medium there. That's interesting. Huh. Well, Happy will maintain the lead. Final Flame second. Reimer will take third. Mac fourth. Ayahuasca fifth. DB the Best, who's been on these hard tires for a couple of laps now, I tell you what, I gave him crap about it. He's actually done quite okay here. His hard tires are only going to be about 3 laps old, so he's going to be even Stevens with the rest of the grid here as far as tire strategy goes. Of course, 3 laps old, 3 laps older tires, sometimes they do make a difference. But in the early goings here, he's going to be right on level pegging with the rest of the guys in the hard tires. So DB the Best took the risk. And for the time being, it's actually worked out quite okay. Whether it stays that way or not, it's going to be the question. Safety car on track here, about halfway through the Grand Prix. A lot of racing left to go. A lot of carnage, I believe, probably still yet to come. Well, now would be a good time to drop your race predictions. Now that you kind of got to look at how things are slightly stacking up here. Half of the race still yet to go. It's anyone's game, realistically. So while you got yourself a minute here, crack open a beer, throw some Hot Pockets in the microwave, hit that like and subscribe button. All of those are good decisions by my records. And also type in who you think is going to win today's Grand Prix. Looks like we're going to have the safety car for at least one more lap here. Plenty of time still. They make their way through Sector 1 here. Happy leads the charge here. Now again, there's not many drivers I don't really know much about. I've never seen Happy before. I'm only calling him Happy because I think it's kind of funny how he showed up with just what do they call that? Not emoticon frowny face. So, by my calculations, Happy's his nickname now. That's all good. We had a guy last week in the Portimao race. His name was Isra Puerto Rico, but obviously he didn't have his name in like underscores or anything or spaces, so it read all one word, ISRAPR. And my guess was rapper. I was not correct. Sometimes I tell you what, there's a lot of difficult parts of this job. One of them being trying to keep your eye on all the action at one time. Another one is trying to find out what people's names are. Of course, a lot of these guys are pretty easy. Final Flame, I mean, Reimer, Mac. Ayahuasca was a tricky one. I'm not a marijuana smoker myself. Apparently that's a weed thing. But I just didn't know that, so I looked it up, and that's how you pronounce it, Ayahuasca. DB the Best, Noganator, Travis Scott's. It's lit. Slayer Rise, P. Gonzalez. I mean, all of this is pretty straightforward. But then you got Happy. And you had Ayahuasca. And then you had Israel PR. Looks like the safety car is going to stay out one more lap here. This marks officially now halfway through the Grand Prix. A lot of racing left to go. Coming up on 10 laps to go as well. Ooh, this is interesting here. Brian Mosser on the way in. What was that? Why is he stopped? I didn't see no tire change going on. That was weird. Did he put on new tires? It doesn't appear that he did. It's now his third stop of the day. That is really odd. Perhaps it's just not updated yet, but it looks like he just simply came in and that was about it. He didn't have a penalty, not that I remembered. Huh. Really odd. I don't know. Oh, you know what he's done? I know exactly what he's done here. That was very clever. I think he's gone... What he's done is he's gone medium to hard, but he's come back in and he's fit the initial pair of 8-lap-old mediums. Yeah, that's pretty smart because that is fulfilled the mandatory stop to the other compounds. Yeah. So it does say wing change. Okay, I didn't notice that at first, but I tell you what, if that's what I think he's done, where he's gone medium to hard, and then back to the mediums again, that's actually quite clever. That's helped him a lot, I think. Perhaps 8-lap-old mediums, I mean, that's still relatively towards the back end of the strategy, don't get me wrong. However, coming up on 10 laps to go here, say we get one more safety car, that may leave him in a good position. But what I do know is this, hopefully... Yep, safety car in at the end of this lap. The top 5 except Ayahuasca, all on the hards. Ayahuasca, Slayer Eyes, Mitch Burns, Ray, and Brian Moss are all in the mediums. So, Happy here has an interesting dilemma. Got a couple of quick drivers behind him, including his teammate in Mac, and Ayahuasca, who's on the by far faster compound, as he backs up the grid here, which he is allowed to do. He's allowed to back up that grid as far as he wants. And this is always an interesting one that we face here at Baku, is having these, not so much DRS chicken, but safety car chicken type games, and away he goes. Now this is going through 18 and 19, so if he's gotten away better, it certainly helped him. Drivers like Ray still, like, not even prepared to go here. Well, Happy will have an 8/10 of a second advantage, but what we do know is this. There's Reimer to the right side on Final Flame into the first corner. Contact made. Still side by side here. Oh, Reimer's been forced into the wall there. Well, I say that as unbiasedly as I can. Forced into the wall. It's a bit harsh to say. But as you go side by side through that corner, I do believe it was... Brian has used mediums on now. Yeah, that's what I figured. But Reimer... Okay, saying he was forced into the corner is a bit harsh. He did not have the rights to the corner, but still, side by side, he did make contact with the wall on the outside. He may have a case with the stewards if damage is taken place. What I do know is this. He's tried to go around the outside of Final Flame, and unfortunately he's lost the spot to Mac as well. One of the two, maybe the other way around, I don't know. But not going to play in there for Reimer. Ayahuasca in pursuit. Oh, but you see, that's what I'm talking about there. He's definitely taken a lot of the the apex curb. That may have offered him a warning there. We have yet to see anybody on 3-second penalty for multiple warning for track limits. As Ayahuasca now has gotten a much better exit out of that corner, and he finds his way down to the inside of Reimer and will take that spot. Oh, but he nearly got away from him. I think he hit the curb. Well, he took the inside curb, I think, as much as he could. The back end of the car nearly got away from him. Nearly had a hell of a tank slapper into the wall, but somehow he gets away with it. The pair of the Haas drivers swapping positions back there, P14, P15. DB DeBest here, 0.6 of a second. Trying to close in on Reimer, not necessarily close enough. Noganator 5.5 tenths behind them. And, oh, Gonzalez is retired. This is going through 18 and 19, and the safety car is on track. No, this is at turn 20. Oh, he may have had some help there from somebody. That is a very odd place for the circuit to go off. And now we see a flood of drivers come in. Mac, Reimer, several drivers on the way in here, I would assume. Oh, it's medium tires for Mac. I believe, is that a set of mediums there for Reimer? Yes, it is. Travis Scott's will be surely going to the mediums as well. And now, well, I hate to say it, I think, was Happy and Final Flame. Were they too far ahead? Were they already past the entry to the pit lane to be able to make that stop? Because let me tell you something now, they are firmly on the back foot here with the majority of the drivers behind them on the medium tires, and fresh ones at that. Ayahuasca being on the mediums, this has played out okay for him. Mitch Burns as well, still 4-lap-old mediums. They'll at least have the best tires out of the top 5, but everyone else behind them either on fresh mediums or fresh softs. Happy's retired, what the hell? Are you serious? Where has this happened? This is off at turn 7. He's gone clean into the barriers. And the driver who is in second place is out of the race. What in the hell has happened there? That has got to be the most odd turn of events for a DNF under a safety car I've ever seen. From the initial looks of it, he has gone clean into the barriers outside of turn 7. There you can see the tire marks on the way in. He's tried to catch it. He's gone way too late. What in the hell was that? The driver in second place has now perhaps opened a 1 and 2 for the Williams team. Well, I actually... there's not many times I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words. That's the bottom line. I don't know what's happened there. What we do have now is several drivers on their way into the pit lane. Reimer has gone to 11-lap-old medium tires. I do not think he's done that on purpose. Did he not have another set of mediums? Did he not have a set of softs? 11 laps old. That does not seem like it was done on purpose, that one. That is really odd. What that does here is opens up a 1 and 2 for Williams. Mac in third in the Alpine. DB DeBest. And let me tell you something. I gave him crap for going on the softs in the beginning of the race. He's currently sitting 4th. So, and let me tell you, I'm not going to say, well, what number cast is this here in Midwest? This is 105, 104, something like that. Let's see, Monaco was 100, so this is cast number 103 in my tenure in Midwest F1. And I'm not often left speechless I don't know what the hell to say right now. That is just really odd. And DB the Best, well, I thought I've seen it all. Of course, I did race a season back in Season 7. Had a good couple of podiums in Division 4, went up to Div 3, was a serviceable midfield driver, probably averaged about P8. Oh, what the hell? Ayahuasca's off! Well, in my constant ramble, we have another driver who has just seemingly bit the dust for no apparent reason. He's gone off at turn 18 and 19. I don't know what's happened with him, but he's done. And suddenly now, what was 20 seconds ago, well, 1 and 2 for the Williams team. I don't know what the hell it is now. I don't understand. I don't understand. There's nothing for me to say. I don't get it. Why has this happened? Did he have a wheel disconnect? I mean, that car shot violently to the right. I don't know what happened with Happy. You know, he missed the corner. I think maybe was he, could he have been trying to get back around in time so he could pit and still catch some good position with the safety car? That I could probably see. Although he's gone well deeper into the braking zone at turn 7 than he should have. And Ayahuasca, that car just violently hooked to the right for just no apparent reason. I have not a clue what has just happened there. In the time that we have started this safety car, we have lost 2 drivers that were in the top 3 for just no reason. It's just... You know, and let me be honest. I've seen some Thursday division races at like Monaco and whatnot. I remember there was a Division 3 race at Zandvoort where we started with 20 and we ended with 9. And a lot of that was just driver-on-driver contact. You know, really like kind of sloppy-ish racecraft. You know, Monaco will do its thing. Monaco claims drivers. Baku is known for carnage, but I mean, carnage is hardly the word. Just confusion, I think, is the only respectable way to describe this. Happy goes off. The Mercedes... Sorry, if you're just joining us and you don't know, the Mercedes currently residing DNF'd in P14 with a frowny face. I've dubbed him Happy, because that's the only... kind of almost makes sense. Who has gone straight in the barriers for no apparent reason at turn 7. And then Ayahuasca, who... You know, and it's not out of the question, could he have had wheel disconnect? Could his car... Could he have had help from behind? You know, which could have resulted in the off for him? I don't know. But what I do know is this. I'm looking at the Discord now. Okay, so what we're looking at here... Sorry, what I'm assuming is Mackie. Sorry, this is a driver. I'm not actually... I didn't know this until now. His name is Mackie in Discord here. This being Happy, who I've dubbed it in the Mercedes, moved his MacBook and it clicked escape on his keyboard while he was in AI, and the car went straight into the wall. So at least for Happy or Mackie, we know why the incident has occurred. For Ayahuasca, I still have no clue. I do not know. Well, if you're just joining us here, what a turn of events we have for you. Sorry, I'm going to make sure I stop the hard recording real quick. Yeah, well, again, if you're just joining us, what a turn of events we have had here under this safety car. This safety car started about lap 16, 17, maybe at the latest. The Mercedes in P14, I think, is Mackie, who we've dubbed Happy because of the frowny face of emoticon. What we've learned has moved his MacBook, clicked escape on the keyboard, and it left the pause menu, and the car went straight into the barriers at turn 7 while having second place on track. We just recently had ayahuasca in the Williams. I paused the game for 10 seconds. The AI slams into the wall. That is just so odd. It wasn't ghosted. Did the AI have contact with a different car? Because that car violently shot to the right. I had only just noticed it. That was so odd. I mean, I've heard of the AI doing some stupid things. That is very, very out there. I don't know. Maybe has the car had... Because, you know, sometimes when you do go to AI, maybe does it, you know, jaggedly get itself into the racing line. You know, what sometimes it'll do is if you're on what the game thinks is the off strategy, despite safety cars, it'll force you into the pit lane. Has it just got into the way of a car? You know, and that's been the end of it. I'm not really sure what the case is, but what I do know is this final flame of the Williams atop the grid will lead the grid in towards turn 1. There goes Mac down to the inside. Oh, we nearly found the left rear tire of the Williams, who, by the way, is on a relatively off strategy now. 8-lap old hards to the rest of the grid being on mediums and softs. We do have Brian Mosser off at the back. He's been overtaken by Reimer and Fire Up Flow. Reimer, who had accidentally put on 11-lap old medium tires, he's had to come back in. Currently resides 9th. He was in about 4th before he had to make that stop. He now finds himself down there outside what is now, at this point, the top half of the grid. Only 12 cars remain here. Coming up closer to 5 laps to go. Back here within half a second of final flame. So we do have Slayerized and Reimer side by side. Wow, this is side by side through turn 5. That is a bold place to go side by side there, and somehow Reimer has either gotten that spot or stayed ahead of Slayerized. In towards turn 7 now. The pair of the Aston Martins doing as best they can. I tell you what, for the most part, those two Aston Martins need some work on the constructors front. This could be actually a halfway decent result for him. Our championship leader of Mitch Burns currently residing P7. It's not going to be the most helpful day for him, but if he stays clean and brings home a relatively good result, that'll almost certainly help him going into next round, the penultimate round. Which, by the way, our final 2 races remaining here. Sorry, I just need to... I should know these things offhand. I don't. Well, here goes Mac, trying to look for the left side. This is for the lead of the Grand Prix, and Mac will make that move without the aid of DRS. I don't want to say relatively easily, but on those 4-lap old mediums to the 8-lap old hards, you almost certainly had to believe that one was coming quite quickly. Giggity. Penultimate round next week at Singapore, and then the season finale at Bahrain. This will be, I believe, the second or third time we've had a season finale at Bahrain. Always a fun one, that. Bahrain, one of the best layouts in Formula 1. Singapore, we actually had a season finale once or twice. It did quite good. So 2 laps left, 2 rounds left to go after tonight. Next time by, we'll have 5 laps to go. Reimer around the outside of Ambu Mason. Ambu on the mediums, Reimer on the fresh softs, and Reimer trying to make a charge to the field here, trying to salvage a top 5. If he gets past Mitch Burns, he will have a 3.5-second gap back to Travis Scott, although the top 5 on a combination of mediums and hards. So Mitch Burns kind of on the back foot here. Reimer doing his best, trying to get back. We have a yellow flag at the back, and I believe it is the Haas of Ray Ray once again. Those Haas drivers have not had themselves a good day, but for all fairness and credit to them, they've stayed on track, and at the moment they're staying within the points. 4.5 of a second the lead here, despite Mac being on the medium tires. Final Flame still has some pretty respectable pace. DB the best on those medium tires, who, remember, started the race on the softs, whose strategy I criticized big time, thinking what a risk it was, that, risk versus reward, there wasn't going to be any reward. Well, here he is in the podium. He's got almost a second and a half back to Noganator behind. I will say he's not exactly closing in on the top 2, but any sort of mistake from them, and DB the best could be looking down the barrel of a win here. 0.2 of a second in closing, 5 laps to go this time by. A race that started with 18 is down to 12, but still all some very good racing. Reimer now to the right side, 0.2 of a second in closing. He's got the right-hand side of Mitch Burns. Does he keep it? Yes, he does. And into P6 goes Reimer, and now has 4.5 seconds to climb if he can get to Travis Scott for that 5th spot. What we do know is this: Final Flame with DRS. Sorry, no. Did Mac just get that spot? No, he didn't, because Final Flame is already behind. I gotta tell you something, man. There's a lot of action going on here. I never do catch all of it. I do apologize for that. What I do know is this: 5 laps to go, about 4.5 now. this race will come down to the wire. Final Flame's hard tires still at a respectable tire age, as well as the fact, I think it all kind of balances out here. I think Final Flame is maybe the quicker driver than Mac overall, Mac being on the better tires for now. This is going to be one hell of a fight to the finish here, and oh, by the way, DB the Best still behind, lurking, hoping that these two drivers ahead make some sort of critical mistake. As they make their way through the castle section now, part of the old city here in Baku. Through 14, over to turn 15 now. Doing as best they can. Final Flame will have DRS as they exit turn 20. As they exit turn 16 and 17 for now. Oh, Mac has hit the inside wall going through turn 17. That could have hurt him. He got very close, and now I think he may have even hit the outside wall out of turn 19. Final Flame has a really good opportunity here. Mac, I don't believe is missing any front wing, but he noticeably hit the wall twice there. Well, Final Flame is not close enough to make anything happen just yet. We have 4 laps to go. Fire Up Flow and Anbu Mason side by side. Fire Up Flow will get that position in towards the first corner. Perhaps Slayer Ice can make something happen behind. Meanwhile, remember that 4-second gap that Reimer had not all that long ago to try to get around Travis Scott? It's now cut in half. Reimer is looking like he could be in position for a top 5 here after accidentally putting on 11-lap-old medium tires and having to stop again. He could have realistically had a podium today, perhaps even at times a win, but what he has now is an opportunity to get some points and to get top 5. He is 1.8 behind Travis Scott for that 5th spot. The battle for the lead is half a second. What a crazy Grand Prix this has been here today. Through the castle section once more. Final Flame just looks so in control of that car. Mac knows he's got one of the quickest drivers on the Division 2 grid behind him. Mac's got some talent in his own right, but Final Flame is a wicked talented driver, and coming to the line this time with 3 laps to go, anything can happen. Oh, Mac has botched the entry to turn 15. Final Flame may have it go to the inside here. Oh, I thought he was, but what he has done is this. He set himself up well for the next couple of laps here, at least with this DRS section. We're going to turn the telemetry on now just to see the battery percentage, and this is interesting. Mac has saved up. He has about double that of Final Flame's energy store. That is very interesting here. DRS is activated for the Williams. He's used all but 8% of his energy store. He's not even getting that close. That's crazy. Mac's medium tires are still better than the 12-lap-old mediums for now, or sorry, the 12-lap-old hards for now. There goes Reimer to the inside of Travis Scott, and it's P5 for the Williams at the time being. 3 laps to go. Final Flame, DRS, using his energy store. He'll almost certainly have to conserve it next time, but for what I do know is this. Final Flame does not want second place here. He wants more glory. He's a really quick driver. Has he won this season? I don't believe he has. He hasn't won this season somehow. Didn't even win it. Well, he did win round 7 at, December 7th in Belgium in Division 3. But a driver who at the moment finds himself P14 in the standings, a driver who we know is got more, I don't want to say he's more competent than that, but P14 does not really do him any justice to the talent this driver has. But I will say, both drivers struggling for grip through the castle section of the track that time. Next time by, we will have 2 laps to go. It is a 5.5 second of a gap here between the top 2. DRS, of course it's going to be in play, but what Final Flame needs to do here is he needs to conserve the battery. Mac is using it, but very, very conservatively. He has not dipped below 35%, at least in the past 3 laps' time. That is telling me he is comfortable with his car at the moment. Those 8-lap-old medium tires will still be in a respectable enough window by the time we get to the end of the Grand Prix. The initial lap window for those medium tires was between 10 and 13 laps. At the end of the race, they will be 10 laps old. Final Flame needs to conserve his battery here. A lot of heavy braking zones on this track. He could get it up, but for the time being, he is still using it. I think that very much could be a mistake. The driver who started this race on pole, who realistically looked, at least in the wet conditions, like he was a very quick driver who kind of dominated the qualifying session, albeit it was on the wet. And I did say that those qualifying results weren't going to mean much. We have a yellow flag. It's the Haas of Ray Ray off at turn 15. He stuffed it in the barriers, but no front wing, no virtual safety car. About a lap and a half to go now. Mack has 0.4 of a second on Final Flame as they make their way to turn 7 for the penultimate time. As Anbu Mason and Slayer Eyes, I think Slayer Eyes has gone round. Yes, he has. He's gone into the runoff exiting turn 3. Oh, and that is so unfortunate for the Aston Martin driver there. And now, look at this. Less than half a second separate the top two. Final Flame still not really conserving that battery. He's done a little bit. He's gotten it. He's doubled it from about 8 to 16, but still not quite enough. Turn 15, the final time. Mack doing well here. He's only used 2% of his battery since the last lap. He has looked so comfortable in the Alpine here. He's done so well. He's looking for a win here. He absolutely has the ability to get one here. Mack has won 3 rounds this season: Mexico, Hungary, and Monaco. Does he claim a 4th here? Well, we're gonna find out in just a lap's time. Final lap of the Grand Prix, 6.5 of a second here. Final Flame, once again, has used up the majority of his battery. Reimer gets around Noganator. That's for the 4th spot. That'll be a great result for Reimer if he's able to hold on. I don't believe he's going to get close enough to DB the best for the spot. Oh, but Final Flame, the back end of the car has gotten away from him, going through turn 2 there. That was a noticeable slip for the Williams that time. And I hate to say it, but he's going to need some luck here. Oh, wait, something's gone on at turn 2. It looked as if it was the Alpine of the AlphaTauri of Travis Scott. That's where I saw the yellow flag. But back to the battle for the lead here. Final Flame will need some luck. He's got the pace, that's sure, but he doesn't have the energy store right now. He does have still some time to conserve. A couple of heavy braking zones left. It's still, it's actually getting closer now. 3.5 into turn 7. Oh, the back end of the car gets away from him. He holds on, and more crucially, he doesn't pick up a 3-second penalty. No driver on the grid yet today has picked up a penalty. Mack is tiptoeing on these tires through the castle section one more time. And for the time being, it's 2.5 of a second here. And now comes the battery usage from Final Flame. In towards turn 15 for the final time. Oh, they're going to need absolutely picture-perfect exits, and I think they both have. Turn 16. This corner is going to decide the run these two drivers have to the line. 0.3 of a second separate them as they make their way through 18 and 19. Mack looks like he's got a comfortable advantage, but with DRS about to be used here, Final Flame is out of energy store. Mack is pulling away, and it was 0.4 of a second. By the time they got out of turn 19, it's now almost a second. Mack claims his 4th win of the season. Final Flame second, DB the best. I don't know how the hell he did it. He gets 3rd. Reimer, after the mistake on pit road, he comes home 4th. Noganator 5th. Good result from him. Wow, and I tell you what, I did say it. I did feel as if Final Flame needed to conserve there, and he just didn't. You know, he felt confident enough to get up to the top spot. But very similar to Carlos Sainz versus Pierre Gasly, Monza 2020, Carlos just did not save up enough energy store to make the move around the AlphaTauri at the time. And I'm pretty sure that is the same thing that's happened here. It's Mack, his 4th win of the season here in Division 2. What a Grand Prix that was. By the way, deserving driver of the day, up 14 spots, I think, at the end of it. Goodness me. He's aggressively shaking that guy's hand. So, at the end of it all, in a sometimes wet and certainly wild Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Mack makes up 14 spots, finishes on the top spot. Final Flame second. DB DeBest, I don't know how the hell he did it, finishes third. Reimer claws back fourth. Noganator fifth. Travis Scott sixth. Seventh, Fire Up Flow. Eighth, Mitch Burns. Ninth is Andrew Mason. 10th is Brian Mosser. 11th, Slayer Eyes. 12th is Ray Ray. And unfortunately for Ayahuasca and the rest, they did not finish the Grand Prix. Well, next week, penultimate round of the season in the new and improved Singapore. And Bahrain after that. What a climax and conclusion to this season that we're going to have. Goodness me, we can stay around a little bit here for a bit of a post-race show. I just like to, sometimes give my final thoughts. At least, now that we're live, I kind of have the ability to do that, where we just get to sit and kind of, have we lagged out here? Yeah, we very much could have. But not of the stream, but you could see. Migrating host, yeah. Okay, well, up the post-race show now. I tell you what, well, I said it was going to happen with the wet qualifying there. There was going to be no indication. Why am I the host? There was going to be absolutely no indication of how that, how the grid was going to play out there. I mean, we saw only, 9 drivers out of the 18, or something like 11 drivers out of the 18 were able to put together timed laps. There was just going to be no way that heavy wet session was going to dictate how the rest of the Grand Prix formed. I mean, Mac won the Grand Prix from 15th on the grid. He didn't even set together a timed attempt, and he got there. And you have to wonder, if it was not for the technical errors for both Happy and Ayahuasca, you got to believe they would have been up there too, and we could have had a probably 4, maybe 5-way battle for the win. And it was very unfortunate what happened to the two. If you're going along with it here and you're just joining us now, you've missed a lot. Mackie, or Happy as I've been calling him, the Mercedes, Reimer's teammate tonight, had a technical difficulty with accidentally hitting escape on his keyboard. And the car going straight into the barriers at turn 7, and then Ayahuasca, his car, something to do with the AI. Well, I don't know what happened with him, but it hooked violently to the right under safety car. And those two drivers who at the time were within the top 3. Well, as my father says, luck beats skill 9 times out of 10. And while I do believe a lot of skilled drivers made their way to the top tonight, there was a lot of luck involved. And that's only going to be the case next week and the week after, Singapore and Bahrain. What an unbelievable conclusion to the Grand Prix we've had here. Mac, all the congratulations to him. He's absolutely deserved this win tonight. Obviously, luck has come into play, but goodness me, he was there when it counted. Well, that's going to do it for me. Be sure to tune in next week when we head to the Marina Bay Street Circuit for the 14th round of this Midwest F1 season hotspot. It's been a pleasure joining you. Be sure to like, subscribe, have a beer on me tonight, whatever the hell you want, because let me tell you something, I'm going to need another one after that Grand Prix. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining.